Hi, it's Linda with Die Crafter, and I'm here to share a project using my doily die, and I wanted to also share a little bit about how to do embroidery. Let's get started. To make this embroidery hoop project, I'm using my doily die. I'm also using the Ranger Studio, Claudine Helmut Studio Sticky Back Canvas in natural. Now, I think Ranger has some other versions of this sticky back canvas, but this Claudine Helmut Studio version is a little thinner, which was a lot easier to die cut because I'm using the thin metal dies. So just wanted to say that. This is a 4-inch embroidery hoop. I'm using a piece of scrap denim recycled, some embroidery floss, some embroidery needles, or an embroidery needle, and these are my mother's vintage Japanese embroidery scissors. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make this. The first thing I did was I took a piece of the sticky back canvas and this die over to my die cutting machine, and it took several passes through the machine, but I was able to die cut this kind of detail. And this is out of the sticky back canvas. So now I'm going to work with putting the hoop, putting the denim on the hoop. So let me turn this over, set that to the side, and open that up. And I know the denim's a little big. Let me pull back a little bit. So I could always trim it out later. So and you just want to tighten that, make sure it holds. And you should have a very nice tight. And again, you could loosen it a little bit and just kind of pull on the sides to make it as tight as possible. It just looks nicer when it's nice and tight. There. And then you tighten up the screw at the top. And then we'll cut off this excess denim here. Okay. Now to cut off the excess denim, I'm just going to flip it onto the back side, and using some very sharp scissors or fabric scissors if you have it, just go around and trim off the excess denim. Now that we have all the excess denim cut away, we can turn it back over and see how nice and tight and neat that looks. Now we're going to take the doily and just lay it over. Now you could kind of like how that looks with the point up there. And now it's sticky back, so you just kind of gently press it down, centered. And you could even stop at that if you wish. But I'm going to do a little embroidery because I haven't done some embroidery in a while. So I'm going to put some floss on my needle and come back and let's do some embroidery. So here's a little information about embroidery floss. It comes in these skeins, and I particularly like DMC. It's an old French embroidery floss, and to start it, there'll usually be one end, and you just kind of hold it very gently and you pull, and it'll come out without tangling. Now that's how you can buy it, but if you use a lot of embroidery floss, you could buy these little cards and just wind it onto it so it's easier to store, and you can write the number on it. So if you see me using it like this, it's that I've already unwound it and placed it onto these cards. And now embroidery floss comes in 6 strands. So when you, let's see if I can show this. Oh, that's going to be hard. So it comes in 6 strands. And so what you have is an option of using all 6, which is very thick way to embroider, and then you could go down to using just 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you want to do, but for this case, it's sort of a medium uh, amount that I want to use. I cut a piece about 20 inches long, and I'm only going to use 3 strands at a time. So what you do is you just kind of start from and just kind of work your way down. It kind of loosens itself as it goes down. I don't know if you could see it. The trick is to try to keep it from tangling as much as possible. I'm just using my nail to the loose pieces to kind of get it to come down. And what happens is it starts stretching out on the back end as you go. So you're just kind of scooting them down a little bit at a time, about an inch at a time. You'll see you'll get these wrinkles like that. But as you're working your way out, it'll come off the back end, and what you'll end up with is, in this case, 3 strands, 2 sets of 3 strands, because again, oh, and here it comes. You can see. So now you have 2 strands. You could just straighten this one out a little bit, and that's how you start working. So now I'm going to put it on my embroidery needle and show you a little bit about embroidery. Okay, so now I have one end on my needle, threaded through my needle, and I'm going to show you a little trick on how to create the knot on the other end to start. I want to take that side, and you may need to moisten your finger a little bit. Okay, see that? You pinch it between your finger and your thumb, you wrap it around, and then you roll it. Okay, so I rolled it, and then with your nail you grab that part and you just pull. Okay? And now you have a knot. Now what you can do, if it was a better knot, I wouldn't have had this little tail on it, so you could just cut that little tail off, and that gives you a cleaner knot. So again, you wrap it around your finger, roll it, and then pull it off. So there's a little trick. I'm just kind of freestyling here. I'm not quite sure what I want to do, but I've brought my needle up through the center there. And now, because I have a knot on the back end, it stops. And I'm going to do a chain. So what it is that you take your embroidery floss and you do kind of a big loop. You go back in the hole that you came out from the back. And I'm going to see if I could bring this up to the camera so you could see that I'm now coming out at the top there. Now you want, as you go, you want your embroidery floss to stay behind the needle, okay? So it goes back around the needle. Now you push the needle through and you gently pull. And you can see you started the first chain. Now you want to go down on the outside of the embroidery floss where you were just at. And that, and if you pull it not too tight, just slightly tight, that will create the first chain. Can you see that? Okay, I'm going to finish more of these. So I finished this embroidering the center there, and you can see it just creates a little flower where there was already a bit of the lacy doily look in there. I'm going to pick different colors, and I'm going to continue and do a little bits around the end, around the sides and in the openings, and see what I get. So let's keep going. So before I move on to the next step, I thought I'd show you how to tie off a piece of embroidery floss on the back side of it. So what you want to do is you want to kind of hold this piece, the part that's coming up from your artwork, kind of straight up, and you take your needle and you go around. So like you're tying a knot. And before you pull it tight, you want to pull it down as close as possible to your surface, and with your nail hold it in place and pull. So that ties one knot. You could do it twice. Let me show you again. You want to go around, hold it tight in place, and then pull. And use your nail to keep it as close to the surface as possible. And there you have it. And you could just cut it off and you're good to start with your next color. So I finally finished all the stitching that I wanted to do. It took about 4 to 5 hours of just sitting and filling in the stitching. Basically what I did is I took some floss and I filled in areas similar to coloring in, I guess that would be a good way to describe it. So you can see how I finished the stitching in there. You could always do more, or you could do less. You could add beads. It was just so relaxing to sit and stitch that. So I hope you enjoyed the embroidery part of this. I just want to thank you all for watching. Please be sure and subscribe, and happy crafting!